Hi, in this video I wanted to go over how you go from this to a browser and having responsive CSS such as this. So let's see how that's done. So for the past few weeks I've been working on responsive design capabilities, and it became quite apparent that I needed to be able to resize the viewport to an arbitrary width and explore the spaces in between my breakpoints. So just cycling through them like this is fine, but it doesn't give you a full picture of what's going on, and it's not as realistic as a browser. And some might argue is like, yeah, but you're never going to have a million random viewport sizes, but the reality is not everyone uses their browser full screen all the time, so we do need to pay more attention to all edge cases, and the best way to explore that is to be able to resize and start to look out for problems in the layout. So being able to resize was quite important. So I added the arbitrary viewport resize capability. So now we can create a breakpoint wherever we feel like we need to pay a bit more attention. And then if I were to add a custom breakpoint here, it's going to get that value that I had, so 440 pixels here, and then I can create that breakpoint and quickly assign properties to it for different elements on the page. Another thing that I felt was quite important was to be able to hide or show elements per breakpoint. So when we have a larger screen and we have the real estate, we can afford being a bit more verbose with our copy. So here I have in this fictitious onboarding wizard, I have the steps listed out, so we can see them all at a glance, and that is very good for the user to know. But on smaller screens we don't have that luxury. So in this example I went ahead and I hid the verbose steps here, and I'm just going to rely on the copy in the main content area, and also the navigation here at the top to indicate where I am in that process. So if I do go to this breakpoint, you can see that I've shifted the sidebar to be a tiny header, and then I hid away the steps. Another thing I wanted to point out was the ability to customize components and have that responsive CSS code being embedded with the component itself. So to demonstrate that, we can go to the browser, and we're going to take a look at the teammate row here. So we can see that at some point its layout is going to shift. And there are small tweaks that I came up with to at least make it look presentable, and still have the same structure underneath. So it's the same layout HTML structure. So we can see that now the name and email are in line, control buttons are at the bottom, and then as soon as there's less space, I can also stack the names and emails, and that goes all the way to I believe, yeah, it's 320 is the smallest size I can have. So if we take a look at the exported code, go to sources and go to the teammate component, we can see that code lives here within this component CSS file. And then the same goes for styling at the layout level. So if things are not a part of your component, or they're just elements in the layout itself, all those rules are added next to the original selector. So here in this example there's a logo, and then at a certain point we drop the margin at the bottom. So we have a bit of margin here, and then at some point we drop that margin. In a future update, I will be able to also add the ability to swap the order of elements per breakpoint. So, for example, here, if you want the unassigned button to be before the drop down per breakpoint, you could do that as well. In terms of output, I really wanted the code to be clean. Again, speaking from a developer's point of view, and I didn't want any redundant code. So in order to do that, there's quite a bit of diffing happening behind the scenes as the cascade is resolved for each of these nodes and selectors. So we're only seeing the things that do change, even though in the UI you might change many things. If they do happen to match the previous breakpoint, that's not going to be outputted, and we have a clean output. Working on the overrides engine these past few weeks also paves the way for component states, but that's a future update and a future post. But yeah, I'm quite keen on getting component states or just element states like hover disabled, or even custom ones where you can assign a particular CSS class, add some properties to it, and then activate it. Some things are on or off depending on a particular state, so you can leverage that class, and it makes it a lot easier for a developer to plug that into business logic. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.